Hello, guys. I'm Miros. If you don't know me, I've been a caller for about a year and a half now, going into 2 years. I've called for all kinds of things that you could possibly call for. I've done faction, I've done bandits, I've done black zone, I've done large scale, mid scale, small scale, all kinds of things, and I gathered, you know, quite a bit of experience in all those aspects. And it popped into my head that a lot of people have been asking for VOD reviews, asking for advice for calling, how can I start, check this for me, check that. And I thought a good thing to do would be just to collect everything that I've you know experienced throughout all these years, any VODs I could pick up, any advice I could make up, and just make one video that people can watch and, get the most out of my experience and learn from, my fuck ups, learn from my achievements, and, hopefully help as many people as I can. Get into the thrill of calling, which it really is a thrill. Um, I mean, first and foremost, honestly, with calling is the theoretical part. Most of the fights, are won before the fight even begins. And, that's, a very important aspect of calling is it's the thinking part that happens before the actual fight. And, majority of the thinking part is done throughout two different things, and that is the comp or the tactics that you will be doing for the fight. Now, the tactics are slightly more complicated because it depends on the playstyle that you're going for and the fight that you're going to be put in. So we're up to the comp. Now, for the comp, you are looking to get a good balance of absorbing engages and killing on your own engages. And I think a good way to balance your comp, and one rule I use to make sure that my zergs are pretty balanced is that for every 20 man, you need a 4-4-4-8 rule. That's four tanks, four supports, four healers, 8 DPS. Now, what this does is, in my opinion, that guarantees that you will, number one, definitely kill your clumps with 8 DPS. It's quite overloaded on DPS. You find that in comparison to other comps that are out there, that ratio is quite heavy on DPS. Other people try to prefer to have more defensives, but I feel like that's a good way to start. The basic division of those roles is that for each four, you can divide them into two categories, other than DPS, of course. Now, for the first thing, that is tanks. Obviously, you have one of them being the cutter, and it's gonna be four tanks, two offensive, two defensive. Now, let's break up offensive tanks. Offensive tanks can, there's only on one other offensive tank, one other clumper tank, sorry, other than the caller, and that other clumper has two main roles basically. They can either be a fake or they can be something called a pre-clumper. Okay, now they both have separate benefits, and in the first scenario, which they are a fake engage, this tactic is used when you feel like your enemy is either rushing their defensives, they are very heavy on the defensive part. You just find you're having trouble killing your engages, and you see that there's a lot of defensives being open to defend against your engages. So what a fake does is that it opens up the opportunity to take away those cooldowns. Take away. It's unlikely that you're gonna take away all of the defensive cooldowns, but the aim of it is to take away some of those cooldowns that are going to be used on your actual engage and make the defensives on your engage, slightly weaker, if not a lot weaker. But the whole point of making a fake work is that it needs to be believable. Okay? And how is a fake believable? Well, it depends on your targets. Now, for it to be believable, The fake clump needs to be a threat. And for it to be a threat, it's going to be either one of two things. Okay. Either the risk of not defending that clump is higher than the risk of um, opening defenses for it. And that means that their enemy caller has to choose whether or not they risk letting that clump die in case it's a real engage, or risking their cooldowns to open it for that clump. And that only happens by focusing on the right target, which can be either out of position targets, and be careful when engaging on tanks. Your job as a caller is to understand your enemy, and one button that you're going to be getting very familiar with is an inspect button. Try to have your inspect button on some sort of hotkey that's close to you, and you're going to be spamming that quite sometimes and looking for the right targets to engage on. Okay, so all these clerical engages, phase scales engages, all these things that you're going to be wasting your cooldowns on, those are not right targets. So make sure to inspect. That's a button that you're going to have to get used to. And a button that I would advise also getting used to, especially for small scale, which we're going to get into, is the marking. Now, the pre-clumper role for the other offensive clumper, it's basically more damage for your Zerg. And when I say more damage, it's basically more AoE escalation because the pre-clumper is supposed to, go for the targets that you won't be able to bring into your clump and bring them closer to you so that by the time you open your skills for the clump, whether that's a one-hand mace, whether that's a golem, the job of the pre-clumper is to enable you to clump more targets than you initially would have. And that's where you bring more targets into your clump, more AoE escalation, more threat of killing. Pretty simple, basically. Um, Now, for the other two tanks of your four, you will need some people to defend you. Now, you can, depending on your comp, you can divide them into either stoppers or peelers. Okay, so you can get some one-hand maces, get some heavy maces, all these things that will basically stop the enemies from coming towards you and stop them from dealing any damage. The other options are peelers. Okay, of course you can mix and match, but the other option is peeling. By peeling, that means making sure that they cannot reach you in the first place, not stopping them from dropping damage and all that stuff, or stopping them from coming towards you. It's making sure that they are not able to catch anyone. They are not able to make clumps. They are not able to engage on anyone. And a perfect weapon for that obviously is the Bedrock with its guard rune to give people anti-CC, and of course its E to knock the enemy away, and especially the callers and the offensive tanks, so that they are unable to give their DPS a target. Now off to the supports. Now for the supports, of course, you have the same concept, the offensive and defensive supports. And some of the defensive supports can be used offensively and such. Same thing with the tanks, of course. You can have offensive heavy maces, all kinds of things. You can be creative with your comps. Healers, you can also divide into two different ways, but obviously not offensive and defensive. It's more like frontline and backline to make sure that all aspects of your Zerg are getting their heals. And this is especially useful against something like a brawl, which I've seen myself, how it works and how efficient it is. Now you have healers that are responsible for healing the front line, and those healers typically have more sustain built into their build. The others, which are the backline healers, they are responsible for sustaining and not sustaining themselves. By sustaining, I mean sustaining the backline, which can be in two different ways, which is the overtime heal, like the nature does, or something like a reset. Okay. These guys typically you'll see on them stuff like Robe of Purity, stuff like Face Scale Robe, things that are responsible of making sure that the backline is safe, knocking away tanks, or CCing them, fearing them away with the Face Scale Robes. Now, for DPS, you have two different styles. Obviously, you have the melees and the ranged, and you can mix and match with them. Some melee weapons can play ranged. I'll leave that up to you guys, but obviously, you've heard of Brawl, you've heard of Clap. You know, based on the DPS weapons you choose, you play with different playstyles, and we'll get into the different playstyles and different kinds of fights later on in the video, where we're going to be going over the different VODs that I have saved up of different fights, different scenarios, and I'll be going over them with you guys so you can see them and be basically giving you a live commentary of those videos. This is an example of small scale, and this is the first kind of, CVZ style you're gonna see. This is where you have 20 people, and in these types of fights, it very much matters each and every single role. One kill is very important because each role plays a very big part in the fight. So in these kinds of fights, it's typically a very, very fast-paced back and forth, as you can see from both sides. And most often, your aim in these kinds of fights is to be, very fast on your decisions, very perceptive. Okay, you need to react fast to the enemy and to the condition of your Zerg. Now, of course, one main part of the small scale aspect is studying the state of your enemy and the state of your own Zerg. Um, it's looking at what could possibly be a threat towards your Zerg, and which parts of your Zerg are your tanks at danger, are your backline in danger. It's sort of in this small scale content, you're sort of micromanaging your Zerg. You need to be, you're gonna find yourself speaking throughout the entire fight. There is not a single second where you can be silent. Okay, so small scale is all about picking off targets, okay? Do not try to go for full wipes, okay? Many new callers will often make the mistake of trying to go for massive, big engage wipes where you're not gonna get much done. You're gonna get fully defended. You don't have the amount of people to go for that kind of massive damage drops and stuff. So typically in this kind of content, your main aim is to focus on out of position targets. Now, as you can see on our team, we had people that are out of position downstairs on the stairs. And when I say out of position, that depends on two things, your healers and your supports. Okay, where are they standing? Okay, this can benefit some people that play tank here. You need to be always, and you need to tell your Zerg to always be within the range where all kinds of supports and healers can reach you if you need help. If at any point in time supports and healers cannot reach you, you are out of position. And you need to tell them that. They will not always know that, and you need to define for them where the range is, where the position should be. Okay? Now, so like just a few minutes of the video as an example. So here you can see the Hajj is starting to walk up a bit, and there we go. This is where I tell my Zerg, you need to spread out, you need to get away from the stairs, okay? And despite there being a clump, since when I said that, despite there being a clump here, he's still very far away from his Zerg. Where his DPS is and where he is, even if he manages to get a clump, my Zerg is far enough and everyone is within support range, okay? It's sort of like a funnel. We funnel them in and position ourselves based on the threat. See, their perma drops here, it's way too far. Okay, so it's always about studying what the threat is and what could possibly happen because of that threat and then adjusting to it. Now here they try to engage on us, we absorb it, and now this tank is way out of position, okay? He went very deep for an engage. He tried to run back to his friends, but they are all over there. Okay, now our tank did a good job of stopping them, silencing them, so that they cannot help their friend. And there we go. You focus on the out of position target. Do not try to chase the large clump. You focus on the target that's done deal, easy kill, and you try to capitalize on it one by one. Obviously, this is a scrim, so they respawn back. But in a fight in the open world or on an objective, a kill is a kill, and they are gone. Now here you focus on the you focus on the out of position targets. You keep picking them off one by one, And that makes a very big difference, as I told you, in small scale, because each role counts and each role plays a very big part in the comp. When it's gone, you will see the effect of it. Now, here, unfortunately, we don't get the initial target, but we still get an out of position tank, and we still capitalized on it. Okay, so in small scale, do not go for large clumps. Do not go for all these flashy engages. Just focus on the targets that are out of position and play based around your Zerg. Okay, what's a threat to your Zerg, and how is your Zerg a threat to them? Okay, just always try to keep those in mind. Okay, now I'll play a few more minutes just so I can show you some more examples of how we handle engages, how they handle engages as well. Here, as you can see, we both forgot to mention this. Cooldowns are a very big part of ZVZ, obviously. You need to be in the habit of learning the cooldowns of your opponents. If they're running stuff like Royal Jackets, it's running stuff like Assassin Hoods, you need to manage those cooldowns. That is typically a 15 to 20-second cooldown. And you need to be aware when there is a threat. Again, back to the whole threat point. You need to be aware when and how um, they are a threat to your Zerg. Okay. Now here, I'm already seeing that this might be a threat. This person might be in danger if he continues, of course, walking down the stairs. But let's see exactly what they do right now, since they have the cooldowns. Now, as you can see, they start pulling off. Okay, now the reason I don't immediately walk down to chase them, okay, and I tell tanks to slowly walk down first, is that this, and one thing you might face a lot, is a bait, okay? They will walk off screen to pull you in because you're going to want to see them. You know, curiosity killed the cat, literally, in some cases. You're going to go down, curiosity is going to get the best of you, and you're going to get a cold to the face with a full engage, and you're going to get caught off guard. Okay, so that's one thing you do not want to be in. Okay, if you see the enemy pulling off, you can do one thing. You can tell tanks sneak in, start getting a better area, or getting a better field of view, and then you can pull your vulnerable targets in. Okay, but always be careful when you're moving your Zerg. As you can see here, they start turning around when they see us coming down, and there we go. They try to go for the stairs, but at that time I'd already told my tanks to step up and go deeper into the enemy and then take their position, sneak inside. So therefore, when they try to go in to engage on our Zerg, we already have our supports positioned. Our vulnerable targets are still upstairs. All our healers, all our DPS are still upstairs. And then you have the frontline healers with the Mistwalkers, with the Clericals, the kinds of things that can get them out of the clumps if they need to, and we absorb it. There we go. Again, he does the same mistake. He tries to go for the people that are out of his reach. He goes too deep, and then they engage on the tanks. Same thing happens again. We absorb it. Everyone is fine, and then we start to look on the again out of position targets. We go in, and this is where I utilize what I said about the fakes. As you can see here, we go towards the main target and we make it look like it's a very big engage. If they do not open defensives on this fake, they get a lot of damage dropped, possibly because they don't know if it's a fake or not. All they see is a golem walking up and possibly clumping all of their backline. And what this means is that if they do not open defensives and it happens to be a real engage, it will hurt. And that's how you sell a fake. All right. So after we go for their main, we look on out of position targets. There we go. This is one thing you healers can do, the role of purity ones. We start kidnapping as well. And then once they're kidnapped, they're too far away from their supports, from their healers. Now you start to look on the out of position targets and kill them one by one. Here, unfortunately, we failed our engage. But I guess you get the point. That's how small scale works. Okay, it's constant back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And honestly, it's my favorite kind of content. Now, we went over the small scale kind of gameplay with, the 20v20. Here I'll be showing you more of an objective kind of fight. This is a castle fight, as you can see gold castle and I'm on a golem. Now for this one, I'm not actually the um, caller, but as I said, I'm one of the clumpers. Now, since I'm one of the clumpers, again, my role is one of two things. Either I'm a pre-clumper or I'm a fake. Okay, and those are the two ways I can benefit my Zerg. Okay, and I can either fake their defensives or pre-clump for the clump that my main caller is going for. Okay, now
Get ready to counter. Hold.
for castle fights, it's a bit loud here.
Just it
For
takes five,
castle
four.
fights, you need to be careful of two things, and you can apply this to faction as well with the outpost. If you're fighting on outpost, if you're fighting on chokes, let's consider this case a choke here. You need to always think, and back to again the whole threats thing, and I'm gonna repeating that a lot because this is very important to make sure that you are not in danger. Okay, you need to know when the danger is coming. Here, you need to analyze where would I stand in order not to be in danger. Okay, and where should I tell my Zerg to stand not to be in danger? Now here, as you can see, we've told our backline to stay at the back because they could be getting engaged on through here or through the southwest side over the wall from the castle.
Three, two, one.
Okay,
Just a tank now. Just a
now
tank now.
here,
Just a tank now. Just a tank.
I don't want to get too deep again because it's a waste of cooldowns to use the same ability on the same clump. It's better to look for my own kind of value, whether it's a fake, whether it's a pre-clump.
Now and come back.
And
Defense,
here,
defense, defense.
he says defense. We open up our defensives.
They're hitting you same time.
Now
They're
we
hitting you
start
same
to
time.
look
They're
to
hitting you
go
same
in.
time. Be careful. Be careful. Defense,
And
defense, defense,
this
defense.
is the ideal time for, like I said, use not the whole Zerg to go in, because consider this is still a joke. There's still tanks on it. There's still danger, bomb squads, all these kind of things. Now, this is the time where tanks can sneak in, and you need to control
Defense. Look, heals
the
inside. Good
area.
job. Good job.
All right.
Come back. Come back. Come back. Hold floor.
So
Weeping
as
on
you can
floor. Weeping
see,
on floor. Look, look, look. Tanks.
there was a bomb squad that called that threw a weeping down, and this is one thing you also need to get used to for calling is that letting know your Zerg any danger that is incoming. Okay, if you see a bomb squad coming, you see an engage coming, you need to be vocal. You need to say defensives now, open demons. You need to give them some kind of sound cue that they are in danger. Okay, some people fall asleep in ZVZs. Okay, they're just muscle memory the whole way. Okay, you need to be very vocal with your Zerg. All right. So he
Sneak in.
calls for the bomb squad, and then, like I told you, he says the tanks sneak in. Okay, because he doesn't want to take the whole Zerg in because there's still a threat. Okay, now he sends the tanks to control the area that we're trying to go through, and little by little sneak your way in and try to get control of the area, and then let your vulnerable targets walk in once you're cleared the area and make sure that it's not a threat anymore.
Tanks sneak in. Tanks sneak in. Tanks sneak in.
Now,
One
as
by
you can
one. One by
see,
one.
by the way, tanks sneak in doesn't mean all the tanks rush in. Like you see, it's tank by tank, slowly going in, taking their position. We don't just like boots into the
Hold now. Hold
pace,
now. They have a chariot too.
we just
Tanks sneak in. Tanks
slowly
sneak into
walk
the room.
through.
Spread,
Take your
spread
time,
behind them. Spread
slow
behind
and
them, my
steady.
tank. Spread behind them. Heal the front
All
line.
right,
Heal the
we
front line.
go in.
Heal the front line. Heal the front
Now
line.
here, okay, there's some indicators that you're gonna come across as you play ZVZ that tell you this is a real engage or this is a fake engage. Typically, the best thing you can look for in a real engage is jackets. Jackets and big cooldowns, stuff like the air compress that's around me right now, the glowing DPS, okay, the night helmets, the graveguard boots. Certain things are gonna tell you this is a real engage. You know, you see the beams on the southwest, you see the command mammoth buffing the DPS. All these things tell me I'm about to get engaged on. The tanks are about to get engaged on, and of course, I'm not gonna sit there waiting for the damage to drop. Might as well be safe and use my defensives now so that I avoid the damage completely, okay? Don't wait until you're in the clump to open up your defensives, guys.
Carol, they're looking at choke. Defense,
There
defense,
we
defense.
go.
Walk in, walk in, walk.
Now they are no longer a threat, okay? So now they don't have the threat of engaging on that choke, okay? Which was the only thing stopping you from going through. Now that that threat is gone, there is no longer something controlling your advance. So now you need to capitalize on an opportunity, and that's what fighting is all about in ZVZ. It's capitalizing on small opportunities and making small advances bit by bit until you win the fight. All right. So now we capitalize on the fact that they no longer have a threat and they engaged on the tanks in front. Now we start sending our people in. They are no longer vulnerable targets. Okay, and we already have our tanks inside. We have our clumpers inside. This is already a great setup for a very good engage.
Walk in now, walk in now.
It's
Heal the
step
front
by
line.
step,
Walk
okay?
in slow,
It's not
one by
just,
one, one by one. Walk in,
tank,
care,
clump,
walk
engage.
in.
Here, I start to see, obviously, they just engaged, and I'm thinking, they're gonna try to kite. They're gonna wanna go somewhere that's safe, right? So, what I'm doing is, of course, one of two things, either the pre-clumper or the fake. Here, I decide I see a very large amount of DPS and healers standing next to each other. Now, of course, I'm trying to go for something that's gonna be a good sell. It's gonna be a good fake. Okay? Therefore, we burn a lot of defensives, burn some gig potions, burn some boots, all that stuff. Now, as you can see, I go
Walk
for the
in. In
fake,
the middle.
burn
Five,
a
four,
lot of
three, two, one. In
defensives,
the middle now.
and then there comes the actual clump. Pulls in everyone since their defensives are now gone,
In the middle now.
pulls in
Smash them now. In the
everyone,
middle.
ends up being a really good engage,
In the middle.
and we get a
Smash them
bunch
now.
of
Smash them
people.
now. And kill them all. Kill them all.
All right. So this is, a very, very large aspect of ZVZ. It's not the largest, there's bigger, obviously, but this is, the kinds of things that are like 50v50, and above, all these kinds of things. It's still the same concept. Okay. The playstyle might differ a little bit, but ZVZ is always about threats. It's always about managing the threat that you have on the opponent and the threat that your opponent has on you. When is he a threat? When are you a threat? When can you capitalize on an opportunity? And when is it a good time to just sit there, wait, and be patient? Wait for a good opportunity, okay? Don't try to force your way in ZVZ fights, okay?
Kill the
Just
room.
gonna
Kill the
show
room.
you a
Kill the
good
room.
example
Look,
of
stabilize northeast.
threat
Defense.
with bomb squads because there was a lot of bomb squads in this fight and I wanted to show that. Bomb squads are going to be something you're going to come across a lot of times, and it's very annoying to callers because sometimes you don't know a bomb squad is there and it's going to catch you off guard, and it happened to me, it's going to happen to everyone, okay? So you're going to have to get familiar with bomb squads, not just through this video, hands-on experience as well. Now,
Defense up west. Hammers.
with bomb squads, all you need to do
Hammers northwest.
is
If
you
you die
need
up in here,
to
here.
keep in mind that they are looking to engage from a place where you can't hit them. Bomb squads are glass cannons. They rely on the aspect that deal as much damage and you deal it from somewhere where you don't get hit. Because if they do get engaged on, they are very, very likely to die. About 90% chance they are gonna die. Okay? So bomb squads are gonna come from somewhere you basically expect them to be impossible to get engaged on. Okay, or less like very difficult to engage on them. Okay, so here they are likely gonna either come through this gate, they're gonna come through the chest, or gonna come through this gate just on the other side. All right, so a good place to stand is in the middle, straight down the middle, away from this gate, and the chest. Okay, now sometimes obviously you might misstep, but just always be aware of your defensives. Always be aware of when you can protect yourself. Here I have my helmet and I have my potion and I have my golem form coming up. I have a lot of stacks. I'm gonna have enough HP, so I think I'm not in danger here. If they try to engage on me, I waste their cooldown, I waste their engage, I take away that threat from my Zerg, and at the same time, it's not a threat to me because I have my cooldowns. Alright, so the concept of threat again. Now, as you can see, I'll fast forward a little bit. There we go, an engage comes through with the bomb squad. We open up our defensives and then we capitalize on it. Alright, so just wait there, be patient, let them make the mistake, and then you capitalize on the mistake. Alright? And then another example you're gonna see. This is a good example of knowing that now I'm in threat. Okay, I don't have my boots. I can't blink out of any engages. I don't have Judy, no golem, no helmet, soldier helmet. I'm in threat, okay? Gig potion is not enough sometimes. Alright, so now I am in danger if I do get engaged on, and this is a good time to just back off, wait for your cooldowns to come back, and then you can start fighting again. Basically, guys, what I want to tell you as a short summary about calling is that you could just sum it down to like four different things you need to keep track of and you need to work on improving is that Managing threats, obviously, it's always going to be my first and foremost. When are you in danger? You need to know that very well, like the back of your hand. You need to spot it immediately. You need to know your cooldowns and the enemy's cooldowns. Cooldowns are a very important thing. You need to also be able to recognize when you're off sync with your own Zerg. Like your Zerg DPS don't have the same cooldowns as you do, and if you try to engage, you won't have any damage. All these kind of things you need to keep track of. The other thing is positioning in ZVZs in terms of the actual fights, your positioning, your playstyle, how your comp works, your fighting style. All these things matter completely. If you have a certain comp that you need a certain play style for it, you need a certain fighting style for it, and you play, like for example, if you have a kite comp and you're playing brawl and you're brawling, there's obviously something wrong going there. So try to understand your comp and play based on the fighting style that suits your Zerg, and don't try to force it. And honestly, the last thing is that you need to be able to manage your Zerg. In calling, I've seen many types of callers. I've seen the Ragers, I've seen the calm ones, I've seen the toxic ones, I've seen all kinds of callers, and honestly, all I can say is you need to manage your Zerg, but also don't blame your Zerg. If everything that happens wrong, your first and foremost option is to blame roles that messed up. Your Zerg will not improve, you will not improve, you will only be in a constant circle of looking for a better Zerg when it's never gonna happen. So my biggest advice to you guys is just look at it from an analytical point of view. Each and every fight, whether you won, whether you lost, go over it in your own time, record your own fights. You can reach out to me for questions. You can reach out to me in Discord. You can reach out to me in this channel, comments, whatever you want to do. Just make sure that your goal is focused on yourself and focused on improvement rather than blame. Because if you're playing the blame game, no one's gonna improve, neither you, neither your Zerg. Thank you guys. I hope the video helped you out in some way. Obviously, it's not always gonna have everything you wanted. I mean, I hope at least I satisfied some of the things, but if anything's missing, like I said, just reach out to me.